Guys, is Ubisoft doomed to go into obscurity, or can they finally fix some of their problems? This is a follow-up on a cow's opinion. Catchphrase! Still don't have any, which is okay, because we're back with Insider Gaming and Tom Henderson, who has an exclusive look and context around the story we reported recently, which was the Assassin's Creed Shadows delay. Now, as you know, we covered a lot of Ubisoft's problems, and I'm not going to summarize here because I think this article by Mr. Tom Henderson does a very good job of summarizing the last video. But hey, I can use the views, so feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and go watch the latest Cow's Opinion. It'll be in the little playlist that I'm putting this one in. But as we know and covered last week, Ubisoft has stated that Assassin's Creed Shadows is getting pushed from its Christmas necessary November release to help pad their coffers for the year to Valentine's Day of next year. Which is cute, you know, Assassins on Valentine's Day, I get it. And why those of us publicly were like, what? Seriously? This close to release date, you're delaying it like this? Internally, it turns out that the developers were begging for this. Now, Ubisoft has been quoted as saying that the game is being delayed because they need to polish and refine the experience. We covered the CEO talking about things like he's, pushing back against the culture war stuff, saying that they make games for everybody and they don't put messaging in them, they just want to have great games. And that they've been learning from the Star Wars Outlaws release. And both claims are true, but beyond a few short words, internally, the developers have been pushing for a delay for the best part of a few months, and had fallen on deaf ears until the release of Outlaws. This does not surprise the cow, because if you've paid attention at all, this isn't even a culture thing. This is a rich developer, business people at the top of Ubisoft just want the money, and you just got to shove the stuff up as fast as possible. So Guillemot had put in his internal memo that he was not happy about the initial sales because they were quote-unquote softer than expected. And also pointing out that the critics rated the game 76 out of 100. Mr. Henderson is going to note now that currently, as of the typing of this article, the user score was 5.4 out of 10, which makes it 54 out of 100. Not quite what you want. Now, the user score is terrible. The critic score is not bad. It means that the game is playable, enjoyable, and fun, but it's not really doing a lot. And look, you've seen videos and reviews and tons of other things. Nobody bashed the game, but the stealth sections were terrible. It's just tons of bugs that really shouldn't be in a high-profile release. I know that almost every high-profile release does have those kind of bugs, but we shouldn't allow that to be standard. Okay? You can go to YouTube and just type Star Wars Outlaws bugs, and you'll see a bunch of fun little clips. And look, when you're streaming or making a video, it's really fun, but when you're playing the game, it's not fun to be frustrated by mechanics or confused by stuff, and who knows. Now, the game has just surpassed 1 million units sold at the time of writing, and you would think that's really good. However, in their earnings release, the CEO said that it was softer than expected, which means they expected to sell way more than 1 million. Because if you're only off by 100,000 or less, you don't care about that. Now, it's important to note that there is one thing I will give Ubisoft credit for. Star Wars Outlaws is a Star Wars game, which I'm not talking the look and feel, although it nails it decently well, I think. I'm talking that means that they owe Disney money per copy. So the amount of profit you get per copy is less than an original IP because you have to pay for the licensing. And remember, Ubisoft's not going to is going to have a hard time making merchandise and stuff to go with it because, again, they don't own Star Wars. They're just being allowed to play in this universe. Now, all of this means that its performance has seemingly caused alarm bells to ring at headquarters, which not only led to the approval of Shadows being delayed to the Q1 of 2025, but finally putting games back on Steam, which is a request that every Ubisoft team has been pushing for years. Look, I understand that Ubisoft and EA have their own game launchers. I get it. But Steam is a monopoly, and it's a monopoly not because it's mean to other people, it's because it's just damn good and convenient. You have so many games on Steam, you don't want a separate launcher for just Ubisoft. You don't. You really don't. Epic is managing to hang in there, but the market is just not going to be able to hold to a bunch of different, online game stores. It just can't. It can't support them. Steam is huge. They have their Steam Deck. Valve is really talented and makes sure that everything is great, has constant sales, constant PR. If you've ever watched Pirate Software talk about, he's a great guy, go look him up, and he will talk to you about like how great Steam is for developers, how you pay like $100 fee to put your game on Steam, and if you hit a fairly low number of units and money sold, you get that refunded. And you only owe X amount per copy. He talks a lot about, the mechanics of Steam. Steam is very fair to people. And Ubisoft is only for Ubisoft games, and lately Ubisoft games have just been, good to average to not good. So why was Shadows delayed? It's a complicated question without a single answer, but it boils down to strict development timeline, polishing, and addressing the Japanese community's cultural and historical accuracy concerns. Some of that stuff's not really very good to have a concern about. Now, when we're talking about the changes they want to make, he wants to be very clear. Yosuke is not going to be removed, guys. He's not. It's too far in development. And I was not able to formally confirm it, but I've seen other articles written about this and confirmed that originally Yosuke was supposed to be a Asian Japanese man. He was supposed to be Japanese. And during development, they decided to make him black. There was exactly one notable black male who's been through Japan. Hey, I'll be interested to see how his story ends in Assassin's Creed Shadow, because in IRL, it didn't go very well for him, unfortunately. But going back on topic, sources have said that the team has been actively addressing many of the historical and cultural concerns. I've seen, people, I'm talking actual Japanese people and reviewers. They're upset that the citizens are made to bow to a foreigner in ancient Japan, which really would not happen. They took a bunch of stuff and mistranslated it. They actually put Chinese writing on some of the Japanese units, which was really weird. They put logos and emblems of actual units in Japan that still exist today without permission or asking for it. I don't understand that you're playing in a historical background, and that's fine, but you gotta be careful about how and why you use this stuff. This includes changing some, and it's been before the game's reveal, following external playtests, which you can probably find on YouTube, and accelerated during the game's initial reveal, and hell yes, mass feedback. There was a lot of feedback, including changing some of his story and how he's portrayed in the game, fixing architectural details, and ensuring that the game is historically grounded. I think that certain things that were making people... one of the characters you can play is a female ninja, Kunoichi. That's historically accurate. There were female ninjas. The other is a black retainer / samurai, and it's up for debate which one he is. It doesn't matter. He's in the game. He's not leaving. You're not going to get him out of there. It may or may not hurt or help Ubisoft sales, but this is how they're going to do it. Now, of course, as the author notates, these are issues that should have been caught internally before the reveal, especially given Ubisoft's strict asset approval process. This is not their first Assassin's Creed. They've had to have been very, very careful. You don't want to offend the nation where the game is taking place. But the author notes that historical experts were brought onto the project much later than usual for a project this magnitude, and that miscommunication between teams and cutting corners when it came to the approval process of assets to meet deadlines were also in play. There's also been some, and I can't find a good source, so we're not going to discuss it, some concerns were made that maybe Yosuke's role in history was ballooned by certain people so that he could be put into the game. But again, he's not going anywhere, guys. I think it's way too late to change that, and honestly, while a lot of gamers and maybe some Japanese people would cheer it, certain sections of Twitter and media would not appreciate a black man being taken out of a game. At this point, you're screwed either way. They're just going to stay the course. Now, as for polishing issues with bugs, it's pretty self-explanatory. The game is currently not at the stage it needs to be for release. Just like you can find Star Wars Outlaw bugs, I've said it in the previous video, I'll say it again. There's a video of the female ninja, and she's killing a guy with a sword. She walks up to him and initiates the kill. Suddenly, she's 10 feet away, slashing the air, and the guy's reacting like he's getting hit. Then there are countless videos and reels and shorts and all kinds of stuff showing this. The game is not... This is not acceptable for a major AAA release to be. It almost certainly needs to be fixed. And I'm told there have been tweaks to some gameplay mechanics and elements that are going to take time to incorporate. Now, while they don't go into this, it's probably because of the feedback from Star Wars Outlaws. Because people were surprised in a game where you're supposed to play a scoundrel, smuggler, and criminal. It's a lot of stealth, and the stealth sections in Outlaws are punishingly bad. So they may have been a little worried that there might have been some mechanics or stuff in Shadows that are also not really tweaked for mass gaming. It's okay to be hard, but again, that's not what there may have been a lot of sections where you're like, well, why would a samurai, retainer, or a ninja, or why would either of these two characters ever behave in this way? And while some issues were highlighted in recent playtests and mock reviews, these are end-of-development issues that would take longer. Now, this is not new for the team. 7 different developers working on the project said that they've been pushing for a delay for some time, and their situation has been heard at other studios in the company. But the delay came down to a strict development timeline, and the need to address issues by the set timeline. As for why Ubisoft headquarters continues to ignore the developers on almost every level, there's a reason why Ubisoft games are not the high-quality, amazing things that we had grown to know and love. They're pushing this stuff out as fast as they can. The executive committee and board of directors will decide in their review. Remember, they are launching an internal investigation to try to figure out what the hell is going on. Why is the stock price falling? Why are all these culture war things happening? Why are the games being poorly reviewed? Why are sales coming in way softer? I get it. Look, 1 million copies for a game is great. But Star Wars Outlaws had a long development time, a big budget, and again, part of every dollar of profit doesn't go to Ubisoft, it goes to Disney. So you need to sell more games to make the same amount of money as per something that would sell maybe a fraction of a couple million. Again, we don't know how many copies of Shadows they had guessed internally they were going to sell. We don't know how many copies of Outlaws we had guessed internally they were going to sell. We just know that they've said that they're soft. These big studios just think that you're going to throw money based on the name of something, and they can put whoever, whatever into it, and that's just not true. Although 80% of 40 Ubisoft developers polled think that this is going to end in no changes and layoffs for them, which, yeah, I can understand why the developers are pretty angry, because these companies don't seem to be making changes and just paying lip service, and then like, well, we need to be more profitable, so fire the people who are making the games but won't give them the timeline and the creative freedom to do whatever they want. And as he puts out, that's a story on internal issues for another time. I'm sure we'll cover it more here on the channel. Was that the last of it? Yeah. So, for now, Ubisoft Quebec is releasing it on February 14th, 2025. I expect the PR to make a lot of hay about that. Look, they had freaking one of the superstars of AEW, like dressed as an assassin, Will Ospreay. He's a huge fan. His finisher is the Hidden Blade. They were pumping it up on recent pay-per-views, and the PR machine was going well. It's going to have to keep going, because you don't want to get buried by the games in December, and a lot of games are coming out in February now. So you need to lean into this. And while the game is not matching, this is something that was shocking to me when I had read it. It's not matching Valhalla in pre-order numbers, which launched on past generation consoles to a much wilder audience, but the numbers are solid and likely to rise further given Steam. So yeah, they will pick up more pre-orders because people will be happy they can play it on Steam. What shocked me was that I couldn't find the article because they didn't mark it. A month ago, someone in a Discord told me that Shadows had, and I'll have to go talk to him about this to see if I can find that. Shadows had set a new record for pre-orders, but now it's not matching Valhalla, the previous game. That's not good, because obviously this game had a lot of money and time put into it. So what is the opinion? I don't know how much it's going to help, but this is the right move. They need to delay it. They need to fix the obvious bugs. They need to get rid of as much of the inaccuracy stuff as they possibly can. Look, the board investigated the company's struggles. They canceled press previews of Assassin's Creed literally hours before they noticed the delay. It was obvious this game was not going to review super well. Maybe it would have gotten in the mid-70s to high 70s like Outlaws. But these AAA games that have years and hundreds of developers and hundreds of millions of dollars in development cost, 70 is not going to cut it. People aren't going to play it. There's been a lot of stuff going around about big developers pushing unfinished games or pushing agendas or charging you more for battle passes. Or look, take your pick. If it's a coach war, fine. If it's your wallet, fine. If it's just a bad game, fine. These developers got really fat and lazy during the pandemic because you didn't have as much time to go out and do stuff. And now we can all go out and touch grass. And they've still acted like they've got us captive in our living rooms. You have to listen to your players. You don't have to pander to them. And you don't have to bow to pressure from loud morons. But you have to listen to them. Give them a good game at a good price on time. Now, Shadows is not coming out on time, but they can still deliver a good game at a good price. So we will continue to cover this, guys, on the channel. I'm going to be very interested to see what changes they hype in January when they're gearing up the PR again. And I want to see how the game sells. But let me know in the comments, what Assassin's Creeds have you played? Are you looking forward to Shadows? Or is it just too little too late for you? I know that Ubisoft is not going to have a good Christmas, guys. Assassin's Creed was going to be the other big game, and while they've said they're making lots of changes and improvements to Outlaws, I mean, again, I've said it in a previous video, I was watching Jesse Cox play Outlaws, and he's bigger Star Wars nerd than I am, and he was beyond frustrated and angry at the stealth sections. And when a nice guy like Jesse Cox is that angry and frustrated, your game balance is bad, your game's a little buggy, and you should have fixed it on time. These unrealistic cycles to appease shareholders aren't working because guess what? The shareholders are not happy, as per the Ubisoft board launching investigation. Let me know what you think below, and you know what else you could do? You can play more games! Games are awesome. I honestly, sincerely hope that Assassin's Creed Shadows is awesome for the players and for the developers who worked hard on it. And everyone deserves awesome. I'll see you next time. Shadows may or may not have been a good name for the game because it may fade into the shadows upon release. But we'll see. I'm honestly pulling. I don't want to see developers' hard work go to heck like that, man. I want them to do well.